Hey friends, welcome back. Today we are going to get into the plantar fascia of plantar fasciitis. Just some props that I really like before we get going. One, this is under 10 bucks on Amazon. You can roll your foot out on it. You can also roll out other areas and it really breaks up the tension of the fascia. Two, love these. They're about 20 bucks. Toe spreaders. If you have a wide toe box to your shoes, you can actually fit them inside as well. I love it because they really spread the toes. That allows you to kind of move through and gait and get some of that hamstring connection that we talked about in a previous video. And then lastly, a foot massager, which is lovely to do over coffee in the morning or while you are watching TV. It's a 15-minute setting. I like to do it twice in a row. And that's a really great alternative to some of the work that we're going to do. Although I really like it in tandem because the massages that we're going to get to in this video are quite a bit more esoteric. And then we'll also do, as usual, for the tenure of these courses, we'll get into stretches as well as proper activation of the feet. I've found over the years that people who have plantar fasciitis, it's like the skin is tight and the skin is what's moving the foot as they walk, rather than the intrinsic muscles of the feet. Here we go. Okay, and now for our esoteric massage. So we have the calcaneus bone here, which is what we think of as the heel bone, and the talus. So what I'm doing is I'm pinning each, and I'm gently trying to pull this one away from this one. The one on top is the talus. It's a floating bone, and I find that it kind of gets stuck one direction, like it'll be off kilter of this one. So if you can actually have the sensitivity to feel that, you can even start to try to push it back or pull it back one way or another. And then once you feel that sort of drop away like candle wax a little bit, you're going to kind of take that same idea up each toe. So like I'm kind of trying to wiggle. So I'm pinning my fourth toe and then I'm wiggling my fifth toe around that. And I'll do the same thing here. Third toe, second toe. And you can kind of play with really doing it hard, and you won't get the same sense of relaxation in your foot muscles. Okay, then I'm just going to kind of massage on each toe. So I'm kind of pulling this way. We'll do 5 on each one. And same idea, but then on the top of the toe. And then I'm going to kind of twist like a bottle cap. And then I'm going to kind of weave. Then I'm going to take and pull back on the toes, and I'm going to run thumb under each toe line to the heel. And then walk that back. And then I'm going to wring out the foot. If you don't have this kind of ability to get your foot over your knee, then I'd say buy the massager. Okay, so I'm pinning. Gentle jostle, waiting for the feeling of melting like candle wax. Shifting my position a little bit with this hand, so I'm basically trying to pull backwards at 45. And don't worry if you don't feel this right away, it can take some time. Okay, I just felt my ankle release a little bit. I would personally stay here longer, but I'm sure this, is really exciting to watch. So now I'm going to take that up each toe line. And if you feel like something's kind of stuck, I would encourage you to stay there and really kind of play with trying to get some movement in between those bones and in the tissues. Okay, then I'm going to go for my massaging underneath for 5. You'll be able to tell if you're one of these people who kind of like your toe, resting toe position is this, you're really going to want to spend some time here. Alternatively, I kind of have the opposite pattern where I tend to pull up on my toes, and it's just a different compensation pattern. And the way you can tell that sometimes is if you look at your shoes, and I can actually see it kind of poke up with my big toe under, like it is an indentation on my shoe. And then I'm going to go top of foot. If you have a bruise sensation or a burning sensation, that is also normal. That would be a tight fascia thing, so stick with it. And then I'm doing my bottle cap. And then my weaving. And then pulling toes back, running under. Other way. And then last bit, wringing out the towel. Next, we'll get into some trigger point releasers for the feet. I'm going to use the green ball that I referenced at the beginning of the video. I'll also post a link to a trigger point release that I've done with these guys in the past. So I'm going to put that ball, your ideal ball here would be almost like a little bouncy squishy ball, or even like a pet toy, so small but squishy. So I've got that in the middle of my heel. I'm going to push down 3 times. I'm then going to roll it to the middle of the outside of my foot. I'm going to push down there 3 times. Then I'm going to move it to the inner arch and push down 3 times. Then I'm going to go just behind each toe knuckle and pulse 3 times each. And then lastly, I'm going to wave back and forth with my heel on the ground. I always like doing a little pre-test to feel like that side, how that feels versus the side that you haven't done for a second. I've actually never done this with this ball and it works just fine. So we've got 3 to the outside, 3 to the inside, 3 behind each toe knuckle, and then getting that under the ball of the foot and waving. Okay, next we're going to get into the toe and foot stretches. You could do this next portion with a lacrosse ball. I just really like this and how it allows me to stretch the toes. So I'm going to place the ball of my foot on the floor. I'm going to stretch my toes out and then I'm going to deep bend. I'm only going to do this 3 times for the duration of the video. When I do it personally, I usually do it about 8 to 10 times. You could also use a tennis ball too. If you don't have any of those things, I suppose you could just use a towel as well. These little guys are great though. I always encourage people to do this kind of thing whenever you're brushing your teeth, because you're regularly going to do it, and why not, you know, do some foot releases at the same time. Next, we're stretching the top of the foot and the sole of the foot. We just did the toes. If you don't have the ability with your knees to do this, then you're basically looking at, you could do the exact same things that I'm doing, but you would do it seated in a chair or standing. So to stretch out the bottom of the foot, you'll curl your toes under, and you're seated on your heels. Now ideally, and I'm working on this too, you'd want to have this completely together. So I'll count to 10, but you could hold this for anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute or two. And then even just for some people, sitting like so can stretch the top of the foot. If you even just stood up and you just kind of did a slow drag like that, that would stretch the top. If you want to intensify it, you could put a block or a towel and then try sitting. That might be too intense, so you could even just kind of back off and get sort of close but not all the way down. This is pretty unforgiving, so a towel is probably preferable if you have sensitive feet. And then here again, we're trying to go heels together. I'm still working on this too. I can't get mine together. So I actually kind of will end up pushing mine a little bit. And then when I feel them separate, that's where I stop for my stretch, and we'll hold for 10. Then to stretch the Achilles, again, this has to do with knee positioning. I'm gonna have my leg off to the side, and I'm gonna have my knee as far over my toes as I can. If you don't feel anything here, you could take a band and kind of attach it to something behind you. You can also take your hand and pull. But you're basically trying to sit sort of chest tall while you're reaching your heel down and feel that stretch in the Achilles. Pivot. And you might only feel one side more than another. Now for strengthening, we can look at strengthening of the toes and strengthening of the arch. So simply put, we can have little toe exercisers here. The toes should be able to theoretically do what the fingers do. They should be able to abduct and adduct, so go away and come together, as well as move up and down. So you can just kind of hold this on one and pull down on each toe. Ideally, you're not, this is like I always tell my clients, this is the brain teaser of brain teasers, to try to get to move each toe individually. You ideally don't want to crane the toe over, but you want to feel like it's getting long in order to pull down. So you can practice that on each toe and find out which are your dunce toes, as I like to call it. Or alternatively, you can pull down and then pull up on each toe as well. So that works the flexion and extension. For the abduction and adduction, this is one of the reasons why I love those toe spreaders, is you just put it on and you go. But you could theoretically also do this and then not pull with the ankle, but instead try to move the toe. I also encourage clients to do this and then go through each toe line and do squats, or yeah, you'd have to do squats because the legs would have to be in the same plane. So go second toe, third toe, third toe. That is going to work abduction. That isn't working adduction. So for that, that gets a little bit trickier. In that sense, you'd almost just have to resist yourself and try pulling in without moving the ankle. But a lot of weakness there is going to lead to a lot of other compensations up the chain. So that is toe strengthening, and then we'll look at arch strengthening. So for arch strengthening, we're going to look at kind of like a ballet toe point. You want to feel like that's actually coming from this portion of the foot. What I see a lot of times with people with tight feet or even like a plantar fasciitis symptoms is that they push it forward from the top. They don't really actually use the arch of the foot. So if you even play with pulling back on all the toes and then pushing through the ball of the foot, and then eventually you're going to wrap and dome. So you want to almost feel like you could pick up a ping pong ball behind your second toe. It might cramp at first, but that's what you're going for. And when you've got it, you'll also see that it's in a straight line with my leg, like I'm not here. It's all the way down. So I'll do that on my other side. Toe point. Flexing the toes, I pull back. Strong drive through the ball of the foot. Wrap the toes to find my ping pong ball. Then you can play with doing this in different angles. So like I can do it, this is very ballet, but I can do it, you know, in the front. I can also do it to the side. I can go behind, I can turn my leg in and try to find it. And then I'm working that connection of the foot into my hip in different ways. Thank you as always for watching. As I mentioned at the end of the last episode, it could be good in the previous 2 episodes to this to kind of bop back and forth and do some of the content a few different times, because you're gonna get a deeper release in different places. Plantar fasciitis for some people can go away really quickly, but for other people it is kind of a gradual thing that you kind of have to work towards over a period of weeks or months to really get all of that connective tissue loosened up, and then to have the proper connection up into the leg and hip as you walk. In the next session, we will get into the energetic and emotional component of plantar fasciitis, so please subscribe if you would like to be notified of that. Thanks for watching.